Knowing about the system is the first hurdle. And then I think knowing your rights is the second. Hi friends, welcome back to Disabled in Nature and our discussion about National Disability Employment Awareness Month. If you didn't know, National Disability Employment Awareness Month is the month where we learn about and celebrate all the different things that have to do with being a disabled person who works. I have recently gotten a job as a disability advocate in the employment space, and so I've learned so many things about disability, employment support programs, different kinds of things like that to help people go back to work or advance in employment, and I want to make sure that everybody knows about it. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is vocational rehabilitation, also known as Voc Rehab or VR. Vocational rehabilitation is a program in every state that gives support to people with disabilities who need help obtaining, maintaining, or advancing in employment. The vocational rehabilitation system has a long history in the United States and was originally developed back in the 20s to help disabled soldiers coming back from World War I reintegrate into the civilian workforce. The system changed and flexed over the years, but the system as we have come to know it was established by the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Most people know about Section 504, which established the first federal protections for people with disabilities in the United States. What a lot of people don't know is that that same act that contained Section 504 also established a national vocational rehabilitation system to help support people with disabilities to go to work. There is a Voc Rehab agency in every single state, and their purpose is to give support and guidance to disabled people who want to go back to work. They can assist you with all different kinds of things. If you need training to get a job, they can support that. If you need specialized equipment to be able to go to work or maintain your work, like my wheelchair accessible van that I got, that support came from my state's vocational rehabilitation system. If you want to know all about that journey, you can watch up here. I'll link the playlist. I think it's really important for people to know how the system works and what is in the Rehab Act. Everything about Voc Rehab is laid out in sections 102 and 103. I will link the text below in the description in case you're really interested and want to go read it. I think they're really not a horrible read, but it is still legislation, so it's a bit to get through. There is so much to learn about the vocational rehabilitation system that I'm not going to cover it all in this one video, but I do think you can get a good introduction to the system by me covering these 7 common myths about Voc Rehab. So let's go. The first myth I want to cover is that the Voc Rehab system doesn't exist. I feel like Voc Rehab is a very well-kept secret, and while the system does have its flaws, it's something that I think people should know about and should at least try if they want to go back to work, or they need support to maintain their employment, or they want to advance in employment. I think that the Voc Rehab system is a great tool and resource that people can use to help get that support that they might not be able to get in other places. Here are some examples, and I'm just going to read them off my laptop here, of what Voc Rehab can help people with according to Section 102 of the Rehab Act. 103? According to Section 103 of the Rehabilitation Act. Assessments, counseling, guidance, referrals, and other job-related services. Vocational and other training, that means college. Okay? We're going to talk about that in a later myth, so keep that in your mind. Certain medical procedures and equipment that is not covered by insurance. For example, the lift on my wheelchair, which is sitting right off screen over there. The feature that allows the seat to go up and down, not covered by insurance. I got it covered through Voc Rehab because I was able to tie it to my job duties of needing to reach things high up and reach tall scanners and things at the office. Dental treatments, transplants, glasses, prosthetics, and all kinds of things. They can support transportation in limited situations. We'll get to that. another myth too. They can support rehabilitation technologies, which is a whole wide category of things. Initial stocks and supplies for small businesses, transition services for students. The list goes on. There are so many things that Voc Rehab can help people with. And like I said, the system's not perfect. It might be a little bit of a battle, i.e., my battle to get my wheelchair accessible van. Check it out over here. But it is a resource and a system that exists. It does. Okay, moving on. Myth number 2, Voc Rehab is needs or income based. Nope. There is no income limit that makes you ineligible for Voc Rehab services. There are some instances where they can require your financial participation in your services, but a lot of agencies don't do that. Like where I live in Michigan, they don't have any financial needs tests except for, I believe, some areas of education. And if you are on SSI or SSDI, you are completely exempt from financial needs testing altogether. I think that's another thing that people probably, if you do know about the Voc Rehab system, don't realize is that it's not like if you make too much money, they won't help you. Like, you just have to have a qualifying disability, and I believe they use the same definition as is used in the ADA, and that disability has to affect your ability to work in one way or another, and then you're eligible for services. No income limit. Myth number 3 is that you can't get vocational rehabilitation services if you are already employed. This used to be true. Before the amendments to the Rehab Act in 2015 through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, before that, there was a stipulation in the Voc Rehab system that if you already had a job, you didn't qualify for services. And that's not true anymore. Under the WIOA, they need to consider your eligibility whether or not you are currently employed. So if you try and go through Voc Rehab and you already have a job and they try and pull some your job needs to be in jeopardy nonsense, don't, get help, and we're gonna cover who you can call in a later myth. Myth number 4, they won't pay for college. They can pay for college. They can. The mandate of Voc Rehab is to help people with disabilities obtain, maintain, and advance in competitive integrative employment. If you need additional training to get a job, and if that additional training is, say, a master's degree, they can pay your tuition and cost of attendance. So things like books, in some cases like housing, things like that. And of course, I would like to give this disclaimer that like every Voc Rehab case is different and what they can offer you will depend case by case. But under the Rehab Act, college training and other kinds of vocational training is something that they can provide. So think about that. Even if you already have a degree and say your disability progressed and you could no longer be in your chosen field that you have your degree in and you want to go into a different field and you need additional training to do that, they can help with that. Myth number 5 is that VR does not do transportation. If you are a person with a disability, you know that transportation, accessible transportation, is one of the biggest issues facing our community. And so naturally, a lot of people turn to vocational rehabilitation to help with that. I did. I needed a wheelchair accessible van in order to maintain my employment because public transportation was not accessible and not adequate. I hear a lot that people are just flat out denied anything that has to do with transportation through Voc Rehab. And that's not necessarily true. It's true in a way. I'll give you an example. Voc Rehab cannot just flat out buy anyone and everyone a car. According to the Rehab Act, they can cover transportation-related costs in connection to another VR service. My case, for example, the VR service that I got was the rehabilitation technology, which was the wheelchair-related conversions to my van. And then they could have covered the cost. They didn't, but that's a whole other video that we're gonna get into eventually one day. But they could have covered the cost then of the base vehicle, which would be like the van itself, which would have been transportation related in connection with those modifications. Does that make sense? So like, say you need repairs to your car in order to participate in another service like college that they're paying for you. They could do that, but you can't just say, like, I can't get to my job, so I need you to buy me a car. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. Myth number 6 is that all decisions in your voc rehab case are final. False. No. If you think that something is not right in your case, you don't agree with a decision that the voc rehab agency has given you, you can appeal it. You can appeal the decision, and you have rights under the Rehab Act. You have rights to mediation by an impartial third party. And if you don't want to do that, or if that doesn't work out, you have rights to go to a hearing in front of an impartial person. Very often, this is an administrative law judge. Now, I know that sounds really overwhelming, especially if you don't have experience in the court system, or you don't feel comfortable like advocating for yourself in that way, or you don't really know the laws and the regulations, things like that. Really intimidating. I get it. To help with that, I want to bust our last myth, myth number 7, which is that if you encounter an issue with your VR case, that you have to handle it yourself. You do not. Along with establishing a national vocational rehabilitation system, the Rehab Act also establishes what is called the Client Assistance Program. This program was established in order to help people navigate the VR system, which I personally love because they were just like, hey, we're establishing the system and we definitely foresee that people are going to have a lot of issues in navigating it. So we're going to establish and give funding to a whole other third party to help advocate for the people going through the system. I love that. They called themselves on their own bullshit. They were like, this is gonna suck for people. Let's mandate agencies that can help out. Much like voc rehab agencies, there is a client assistance program in every state. They're most likely going to be run by your state's protection and advocacy organization. And in recent years, they've all been changing their names to be like disability rights and then insert name of state. So say you live in Ohio, your client assistance program is probably going to be housed under your protection and advocacy organization, which is Disability Rights Ohio. This is the final myth that we're busting, but I think it's the most important one, because knowing about the system is the first hurdle. And then I think knowing your rights is the second. And there are often, I would know, having gone through the system, there are often lots of roadblocks put up in your way to actually getting the support for whatever reason. I'm still trying to figure that out. It can be complicated, and if you don't know what your rights are and what you're entitled to, it can be difficult to advocate for yourself and to actually get those things. And so I want everyone, if you or someone you know has ever participated in the vocational rehabilitation system, I want them to know about the Client Assistance Program. If you ever think something is going wrong in your case, please call them. Call them, even if it's just to say like, hey, I don't think this seems right. What do you think? They can give guidance. They can also do direct advocacy for you. So they can take you on as a client if they think they can help you. And then they can reach directly out to your vocational rehabilitation team to try and figure out what's going on and advocate for the services that you need with them. In many cases, they can also either accompany you to a hearing or help you prepare to go to a hearing yourself. I think that's it for this video. There are a lot of other things that I think people should know about the voc rehab system, but I couldn't possibly cover them all in one video. So please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about vocational rehabilitation. I would love to try and answer them for you. If you want to see more short form kind of bits of information about voc rehab or Disability Employment Awareness Month in general, follow me, subscribe for more thrilling content here, but you can also go follow me over on Instagram or TikTok. I'm also posting over there, trying to post every single day during this month. It's going. We're learning all kinds of fun things. So let me know what you want to know, and I will see you next week for a discussion about, what are we talking about next week? For a discussion about your rights as an employee with a disability under Title I of the ADA. Stay tuned. Fun stuff. Won't want to miss it. All right, friends, that's it. Until next time, don't forget to get outside, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.